here by yourself?
Yep.
So thanks so much for doing this. This happened so quickly. I reached out to Shameen. She's a really close, a great contact and a friend, and she recommended you. How do you know Shameen?
You know, she's been active for a while. And, you know, we know a lot of the same people, and you know, she's a friend. So,
Can you put that behind you
yeah.
and hide a wire too?
Yeah, so she know firsthand a lot of struggles going on in St. Louis, and
She's so active in the community, right?
yeah,
Knows everyone.
yeah, there's a lot of people don't get in that position for no reason. So. Yeah, we know some of the same people. And, you know, I was on a few DFOD meetings. We were talking about some of the issues going on in the city jail, and you know, now that we got a new commissioner, feel good about being able to make some changes. You know, the DFOB existed for a few years now. Been a lot of barriers to trying to get it to work, and I could elaborate on that. But you know, now that we got a new commissioner, Doug seems real receptive to the concerns of people. He takes into consideration the perspective of people who've been through it, and he implements that, and you know, a lot of the changes that he's been making. You know, so I feel good about about what we're gonna be able to do in the near future, and it's overdue.
Yeah.
So,
You can be the one to help make that change, right? You know what changes need to be made.
yeah, I spend way too much time in jail and prisons, and what's going on in the city jail, it's a reflection of what's going on in jails and prisons all across the country. And you know, I don't want to get particular about what's going on in the city jail, but I think it's important to lay a foundation of the prison industry itself.
Yeah.
In America, it's an industry.
It does.
And you know, it's private vendors making millions of dollars from this industry. And with all the talk about reducing recidivism and re-entry, to be honest, if it was less people locked up, they would be making less money.
Yeah.
If there wasn't nobody in prison, they wouldn't have no industry. None of their employees would have jobs. So you can't underestimate how vested these private vendors are and perpetuate the prison system, and how much work they really do behind the scenes. You know, lobbying legislators for certain type of policies that keep people locked up.
What are some of these vendors that you're talking about? What's the first one that comes to mind?
J-Pay, Securus. When it comes to the city jail, we're talking about Correct Commissary, Correct Solutions. They're the ones that get the contracts to sell the phone minutes in the commissary.
Yeah.
And then you got Charmtex. They do the clothes and the bedding and little care packs that they give you one time when you get in there. They give you like a little soap and shampoo. And then they don't give it to you again the whole rest of the time you're in there. You gotta buy it.
You buy it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think a lot of people underestimate like how much you really gotta pay for.
How much?
When you're
What's
locked
the
up.
cost when you're locked up?
I mean, we paying for everything. You gotta pay for food. They don't feed you right, so you gonna buy some food.
Okay. So what is the cost for every week?
I mean, it depends. Some people, you just gotta scramble. You gotta hustle while you're in there.
So
If you're blessed
you had a
enough-
job. You had a job while you were there?
No. So out of all the people that's there, a very small percentage might be allowed to work in the kitchen, right?
Okay.
And they get paid to work in the kitchen.
Yeah.
But everybody else, you just in there. If you're blessed enough to have people put money on your books, then you spend whatever people have.
Well, what if you're not? What if you don't have anyone?
Then you're gonna be scrambling. You're gonna be stealing. You're gonna be hustling. You're gonna be finessing some type of way to try to
afford the cost of the system that you're in. You have to afford.
Same thing that goes on in the world. It's like a microcosm in the jail. It's just magnified.
Well, and a huge difference is you don't have the options to work. So you have all these expenses and you don't have the opportunity to pay for them.
That's
right?
one of the things we want to address. People should have an opportunity to work while they're in there, earn a living. People got kids, they're trying to send money home to their families. While you sitting in there 23, 24 hours a day, why not be able to have access to an educational program or a job training program, or be able to do some type of work where you can earn a living, especially when all this revenue was being generated by these private vendors.
Yeah.
And actually been speaking a lot about this with people. With all the profit that these private vendors make in selling commissary, selling phone minutes, etc., some of that could be reinvested back into the same programs we're talking about.
Okay, we'll start the interview now if this works.
You got your phone rolling there, Stacey?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so tell me your first
Try
and
not
last name.
to swivel in the chair, Coach.
Yeah, it's hard when you're in a swivel chair.
Yeah.
Tell me your first and last name, spell it.
Stacey Strozier, STACY, STROZIER.
And what neighborhood are we in right now?
We are, I always say I'm halfway between the Peabody and Sula Market. So we up the street from both of them.
And how long have you lived here for?
About 6 months.
Tell me we're talking about the CJC. Why are we here right now? Why are you doing this interview with me?
Where do I begin and end with that? Well, you know, before we officially start, we were talking about the prison industry itself. And the city jail is just one example of what's going on all across America when it comes to jails and prisons. It's a public safety thing. You know, when you got guys locked in a cell 23, 24 hours a day, no educational programs, no job training programs, no therapy, and you just traumatized by the system every day, being mistreated, you know, people forced to fight over tablets just so they can have access to, you know, be able to call home, things of that nature. It's frustrating. So you do a person like that week after week, month after month, year after year, and then send them back home with no education, no job, nowhere to stay for real. Desperate people make desperate decisions, and it's not good for them. It's not good for the community as a whole. Because what you think gonna happen when a person's been through that and then they come back to the community with nothing? You know what I'm saying? So what we want to do is a lot of this money that these private vendors that we were talking about, all the profit that they're getting from selling commissary, selling phone minutes, that could be reinvested because they already got to give commissions back to the jail anyway. Where's this money? How is it being allocated? This could be allocated back into educational programs and job training programs. And there's other organizations around St. Louis that will be willing to partner in that. You know, Mission St. Louis got a great program. You know, with the new commissioner we got, Doug Burris, you know, he seemed real receptive to the concerns of people, and he takes into consideration the perspective of directly impacted people, and he implement that into, you know, his strategies to help create that change. So feel good about what we can do for the future, but it's long overdue. The oversight board has had so many barriers to being able to be efficient, to, you know, get some of these things, get some of these changes, and so, you know, that's why we're here right now.
I want to hear really about your experience. Tell me about your experience with the CJC. Walk me through from the start. When did you go there? What was it for? Give me kind of chronologically your experience.
So recently, I got locked up at the end of October last year, 2024. I was wanted for a question, and there was an altercation that happened. I tried to mediate the situation. My name got caught up in it. So since I was already on parole, I'm real easy to lock back up. So they locked me up. I sat there for about a month before I had a court date, and then people came and was like, "Hey, y'all got the wrong person. He ain't do nothing." So they dropped all the charges. But since I was on parole, I had to still sit there until DLC came to get me, and they still sent me back to prison.
What were you on parole for?
I was on parole for burglaries and robberies.
When was that?
This was back in like 2011, 2012.
So a long time ago.
Yeah.
And can you tell me any details about the situation?
Back when I first got locked up, I mean, I was young, didn't know how to get some money, for real, to be honest with you. Only seen what was in front of my face. I just, you know, kind of just desperate, I worked different jobs. I worked every type of job you could think of. I was working jobs, but it wasn't enough for me to save up and do anything with. And, you know, I made desperate decisions.
And what were you doing for work? How old were you, first of all? How old were you? What did you do for work? And what did you what was it, a store? What was the burglary situation?
During this time, I was about 17, 18, 19 years old. I had worked for the YMCA. I worked for car dealerships. I did different jobs, you know, making little to nothing for real. I've committed burglaries and robberies of stores on other people's houses. I mean, my house was burglarized. I've been robbed. I mean, it was a cycle. I mean, that's what was going on. And I got locked up. And I did 10 years in prison. And I had the full prison experience. Out of the 10 years I was locked up for, those years was probably solitary confinement because, you already guilty till proven innocent. Once you already been convicted and you behind that wall, you just guilty. Like, ain't no cameras, like, CO could do you any type of way. It's your word versus theirs. The parole board to take your out date. You trying to file a grievance, that shit don't work. And I was the type of guy who really did my due diligence and did research. I wrote grievances for other guys. I'm the type of person, I get 10 guys in front of the caseworker office because it's a racist CO who's trying to write us up with petty stuff and play with our out date. I'm the type to get everybody together and we all write a grievance and try to get her sent to another wing. Or I'm the type of person that'll rally everybody to put paper in front of their windows because they won't give us showers in the hall. So everybody put paper in front of your windows so they can't see. So the CERT team got to come in there and take 8 hours to get one guy out of his cell. And then they be like, damn, what are they writing about? Because y'all won't give us our showers.
I really want to get your perspective and understand what led you to this point, because it sounds like from what you're saying, you were working hard. You were really trying to make a living, and it was hard for you to have what you needed. What type of things? How much? Anything you would tell me about the charges. What types of things did you steal? What types of things? How much? Can you give me a monetary amount and what you were trying to do?
I mean, it was petty licks. It wasn't nothing big. Like, I was still hundreds of dollars here and there, a couple $100, $200 here, $50 here. I steal from a weed man, take his weed, and stuff like that. But all that petty things that I did, being young and not really just not really knowing what I'm gonna do.
Would you break into people's homes and steal that cash?
I did that before, but I'm the type of person, even though I was committing crimes, I had morals about the stuff I did. I wasn't just breaking anybody's house. Like, if you was selling drugs in the neighborhood and I know, like, this is what you do, I'll go in there and take that. And, little stores around the way, the pawn shops, liquor stores, stuff like that, I would go in and take the money out the register, stuff like that. But that's what led me to being in prison. But like I said, while I was in there, a lot of things go on in prison. It's just like a microcosm of what's going on in the world. So you take all the problems that's in the world with the economy or all that, you magnify that, put everybody locked in here together, you still have the same issues. There's no way to make money in here now except selling drugs. There's no way, there's no remedy to our grievances when it comes to altercations with the COs or with the conditions of our confinement. I was the type of person who try to litigate things. I wrote motions for guys, I wrote grievances for guys. But a lot of times we don't get no remedy, and what can you do when you constantly getting abused and the CO wants you to do a strip search for no good reason just because he's trying to mess with you? Sometimes you feel like you ain't got no remedy. Only thing you can do is lash out and you fight back to defend yourself. And I've lost out days on COs.
How would you? I guess I'll try to ask the most simple question. How would you describe your experience with the CJC?
So fast forward, all the time I did in, prison, when I came home, I was doing things differently. I was advocating. I was working with different nonprofit organizations and around criminal justice issues. And once the last situation happened and I was sent to CJC, and I could just give you like my day one. Like, so this what normally goes on, right? Well, this is what goes on when you get locked up. When you first get locked up, they put you in a tank, probably about as big as this living room. You got one toilet, it might be 10, 15 guys all stuffed in here. And you're gonna be in there for days or maybe a couple weeks. I was in there for about a week before they sent me upstairs. So you're stuck in this little pen, right, with a bunch of other guys. Literally, you gotta step over other people's bodies to find a spot on the floor to step to try to get to the bath, to the toilet, because it's that packed. And you got guys in here from the streets, some people's on drugs, they detoxing, throwing up, it's piss, trash, grime on the floor, like they never cleaned in here. and people laying on this floor because there's nowhere to lay. Ain't nobody got no blankets, no pillows, no nothing. So we in here for a week, just stuck in here with each other. And you know, so when I was in there, the toilet wasn't working. It was just feces, urine, throw up, stuck in this toilet. So right outside the tank, you got like employee bathrooms. So sometimes people try to knock on the, hey, see, let me use the bathroom, this toilet ain't working. They brush you off. You know, they don't care that the toilet ain't working, they brush it off. And so eventually people finally get frustrated. So like I said, I'm the type of guy, I see what's going on. I said, hey, they won't let us use the bathroom, they won't fix the toilet, this is what we gonna do. Everybody cover up the window because that's a safety hazard. So if the CO can't see through the window, they gotta address it. Now, a lot of times they make it seem like we tripping, but we have to do this out of desperation because y'all ignoring our concerns. And so the CO banging on the window, hey, take that down. No, we're not taking it down until we get a plunger. You know, so finally they open the door. We gotta get in the doorway, like y'all not closing this door until we get a plunger. And so we have to do the most just for the bare minimum. Y'all already supposed to be doing this. Like, we're not making y'all do something extra. Like, that's y'all job. Somebody supposed to fix the toilet. You see what I'm saying? So it's like we got to do the most for the bare minimum just to get a plunger. You know, that's just one situation. And I was in there with a guy. He was on the colostomy bag. Guess he had some type of injury, and he wasn't in a special unit where they would give him special, you know, attention. You know, he was in there with us, being ignored, and his bag filled up so much they wasn't changing his bag. It filled up so much that it busted open, and so feces leaking on the floor. It's reeking in here. We knocking on the door, they ignoring us. Finally, me and 3 other guys got kicking on the door. Boom, boom, boom. Hey, man, y'all got to change his bag, man. Finally, they come in there, they take him out to change his bag, but by that time, it was all on his clothes, it's all on the floor. So they changed the bag and put him right back in there with feces all on his clothes and all this on the floor. We're like, hey, man, y'all ain't gonna clean up, y'all ain't gonna give us something to clean up with? Gave us some dry toilet paper to wipe it up with. So guys,
you had to do it.
yeah, I was the one that did it. I was one of the ones that did it, but it's like, what we gonna do? Leave it on the floor? And so, nah, ain't no employees coming in and cleaning it. It's like,
How do you feel in that situation?
I mean, of course, like, how would anybody feel in them situations? And so when you're living under those type of conditions, day after day, week after week, it builds up. And this is not corrections. We always talk about corrections. What is corrections? Y'all just building up people's frustration.
Right. Do you feel like in that situation, is it more frustration? Is it anger, desperation, all of the above?
I mean, trying to put one word to it, I mean, the illustration speaks for itself, but I want to give you one more example because this is where it comes into play when it comes to staff. It really shows you like kind of the dynamics that goes on. So once you in here for about a week or so, they send you upstairs to what we call the drunk tank. And so they put you in this tank for about another week before they send you all the way upstairs to your pod. So we in the drunk tank, right? Ain't no like bathrooms or water fountain there. You gotta wait for the CO to let you do that, and they ain't just gonna do it whenever you ask. At certain times, whenever they feel like they come around, let you use the bathroom or let you get something to drink. So a guy that I was in there with, he asked the CO, can he get some water? CO brushing him off. This went on for a while. Finally, he got mad. He get into an argument with the CO. So the CO got mad, like, all right, pack your stuff, take you up out of here. So we took him out of there. He put him in a tank with some of his enemies. Now, when you first come in there, you got to go through this process because certain people, certain areas, you done got into it with certain people. They got to know these things, so they don't put you somewhere with other people that you into it with, right? So they purposely put him in there with his enemies. Guy got jumped for about 10 minutes. They was beating on the man before the CO finally went back and took him out of that cell and put him back in the tank with us. So he come back in the tank with us, he bleeding from his head and his face, his arm looked like it's broke. And I'm telling him, I'm like, bro, I'm like, man, that's a lawsuit, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, you need to call your peoples and tell them what happened. So he called his peoples, tell them what happened, right? So I guess his peoples called up to the jail. So you know what the CO did after that?
Right.
Cut the phones off so we couldn't call him.
Wow.
And in this particular CO, he had on a sweatshirt so you couldn't see his name. So you don't even know the CO name. You did. And so I'm like, bro, you need to go to medical, man. You need to get that looked at.
So it sounds like you were really involved. You
Oh,
were
yeah.
really, you helped try to protect people.
It's always.
It sounds like that was a full-time job. I want to get specifically into the CJC reports, the documents that I sent over to you.
If I may, before we get there, because it's important to illustrate, because it's gonna get into that when it comes to health and all healthcare and what's going on with the nurses and all that too. So I'm like, hey man, you need to get that looked at. He had to go back and forth with the CO for about 30 minutes before they finally let him go to the nurse. So he go to the nurse, he come back like, couldn't have been all but like 4 minutes later. He wasn't in there long at all. He came right back, still bleeding. All they did was gave him some ice for his arm and some Tylenol. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, you know, back to the report.
Yeah, I mean, specifically, I really want to get your reaction, because those stories, I'm sure you could tell me hundreds of those. So, but at the end of the day, the frustration, you felt it was neglected, didn't get basic, bare minimum necessities. So when you read the report that I sent you, what was your initial reaction?
Well, it addresses some of those things, but within the context of oversight, right? Because we have this oversight board who's supposed to be in charge of, you know, working with the commissioner and, you know, administrators of the jail to make this work. So one of the problems is, you know, we have this board, and you're supposed to be able to write a complaint to the board, and they're supposed to do an independent investigation. There's so many barriers to that, because in these moments, how are we gonna really in real time document everything? A lot of times we ain't got no pen, paper, and pencil. We don't know the name of the CO. And so if you're gonna come in weeks or months later and do an investigation and ask some questions, how much is gonna be able to get proven? And then even when y'all come with y'all conclusion and y'all make a recommendation, is this recommendation gonna really be enforced? Because we've been talking about these issues for a long time. And who's really gonna enforce the changes? You know, like I said, we got this new commissioner, so I feel good about it, but there's so many barriers to getting it done. And so I want to give an example versus doing an individual investigation, which is what the DFOB is supposed to be doing now.
So are you saying that you don't feel like there are enough checks and balances? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that, yeah, basically, I would like to see people monitoring what's going on in there full time and being able to report back in real time the conditions versus weeks later trying to investigate a claim that somebody wrote.
Do you feel like the report addressed that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the report touched on a lot of different things, but to touch on some versus really get into the nuances of what's going to be the barriers to really making it work.
So let's start big picture. What was your overall assessment of the report?
I feel like it hit on all the important things, but it needs elaboration. You can't just say, oh, we need to make sure we have better health care for guys. If you don't get into some of the specifics, are we gonna have an independent liaison in there with the nurse, making sure that she don't just send somebody right back out when they're still bleeding and all you did was give them some ice? So it's easy to say, okay, we got a new healthcare vendor. They're gonna do better. Who's really gonna be in there monitoring on the regular? It's easy to say, oh, we have this independent board now, we can do independent investigations. But if no one in the jail even knows what the DFOB is, because the COs don't know, the guys in there don't know what the DFOB is, they already have an internal grievance process that they're not even getting grievance for. If you're trying to get a grievance, say something happened, and I want a grievance, I'm gonna be asking every CO on every shift for a week straight before somebody finally gives me a grievance. And once I fill it out and I turn it in, they're not gonna turn it in. The CO is not gonna turn it in, especially if it's against another CO. Ain't no one in the mailroom making sure it gets to where it's supposed to go. It's a whole lot of barriers. So it's one thing to touch on something in the report. It's another thing to really firsthand, like, all right, how are we gonna navigate the barriers to address these things that's in the report?
So it sounds like overall the report addressed things that are actually happening and you saw firsthand, but you're not seeing adequate implementation and accountability to make those suggestions actually happen.
Well, like I say, the new commissioner just got started, and I do believe they're going to be receptive to addressing these things. But if we don't have on a regular directly impact the people being part of the process, or we can get into the specifics of it. If you're just hiring some investigator because they got a degree and they don't even really know what to ask, they're just going in weeks later to ask, hey, what happened on this date? and you can't really prove nothing. You got to have liaisons in there on a regular, reporting back on a regular. I want to give you an example real quick. So Freedom Community Center has a program called Court Watch. And so what they do is they go into the courtroom, and it'll be a few different cases on the docket. And they're not just investigating one particular complaint of misconduct in the courtroom. What they're doing is they're sitting in there watching them for themselves, volunteers that work for the program, and they're monitoring the demographics of people that are coming in, what their charges are, what the recommendation from the prosecutor is, what the recommendation for the defense attorney is, what the decision of the judge is, if they gave them bond or not, and they're recording all of this and they're reporting back to the Freedom Community Center. So they're getting it in real time, they know what's going on. We need a jail watch that's similar to that, where people can be in there, because this one thing I know for a fact. It's one thing to do an investigation on the back end. It's another thing when you know you're being monitored. If it's somebody in that wing, the CO's behavior is going to be different because he knows he's being monitored. If you got somebody in the nursing office, the nurse's behavior is going to be different because she knows somebody's monitoring. That'll do more to change the culture of the jail than just individual investigations. And so, when it comes to the oversight board, I think the powers of the oversight board needs to be expanded, and that wasn't touched on in the report. But I believe they're going to be open to working with the board.
Has anyone reached out to you?
Yeah.
To pick your brain? How are you involved?
So Doug Burris called me, and he said, "Hey, someone gave me a number, because I was in the DFOB meeting. They know I was in there just recently, and I was speaking on some of these things. So he called me. He was like, I want to know your insight on this. And so one of the things we spoke about was when it comes to implementing these educational programs, these workforce development programs in the jail, where's the money coming from? I said these private vendors getting all these millions of dollars from us. They should be required as part of their contract with the jail to have to reinvest some of their profit or some of the commissions that they kick back to the jail. That should go towards funding a law library, education programs, access to religious services, things of that nature. And he took what I said seriously, and he went back and actively is working on these things.
That's great. How did you feel when he called you?
I appreciate it. It showed me it was genuine.
So did he call, what was the date that he did that, and did that impact the report?
I don't remember the exact date, but I'm sure it did.
I also wanted to touch on some specific findings. We'll talk about critical staff shortages. Talk to me about that. Well, only 74 of nearly 200 authorized correctional officer positions are filled. Are you seeing that? What type of staff shortages are you seeing?
That's the excuse for everything. So, like I said, we're in there 23 hours a day. They're supposed to let you out for an hour to try to take a shower, get on the phone, whatever you got time to do before they lock you back down. But many times we're in there for a whole 24 hours. For 3-4 days in a row, we don't come out the cell at all. And they always say it's because of staff shortage. But what I do know is, when you downstairs, remember I told you all them guys in the tank, you got COs walking back and forth all the time, not doing shit.
Do you think it's an excuse?
I mean, it probably really is a shortage, right? But, if y'all need to hire more staff, I know personally it's been many jobs, and not as a CO, but there's many jobs in the city that I applied for, and some ain't getting done. Like, personnel just ain't doing what they're supposed to be doing. I don't know what they gotta do to hire some more people. Good COs maybe should get paid more. You know what I'm saying? But evaluate these people, because staff is 85% of the problem. The staff is the reason why a lot of things is working like this, because, a lot of these people messed up, and it ain't all the COs. There's some good ones in there that really, care about people that, want to be part of the change too. But majority of staff, they 85% of the problem in there.
I want to touch on another big aspect of the report, the food. How is the food?
Be honest with you, I've had worse. Now, me personally, I've spent over 10 years in the Department of Corrections. I've been in different prisons, I've been in different jails. I've had worse, but they don't feed you enough to where, you're gonna be aggressively hungry. You know what I'm saying?
Were you
don't-
hungry a lot?
Oh yeah, I mean, but that's part of it. But that's why they sell food. If they was feeding you right, people wouldn't have to buy food for real. So this part of the industry is what I'm telling you. Like, these industries are active. You can't underestimate what these people who sell commissary, sell phone minutes. They are multi-million-dollar companies, and they coordinate. And we can't underestimate the things they do to lobby for legislation and policies that keep this prison system going. And the problem is, we can't audit. It's like the public doesn't have access to the information to be able to audit how much money they're getting, how much commissions is going back to the jail, what that fund is being spent on dollar for dollar, because it ain't being spent on education programs and workforce development programs, job training programs. It ain't being spent on reentry services.
So you were hungry a lot and you had to buy food.
Yeah.
What'd you do to buy food?
I was blessed enough to have people put money in my books. You know, I had friends that's young, but everybody don't have that.
Let's also talk about security failures. I hear there's daily fires in cells and the report says detainees use electrical outlets to spark fires. Is that happening?
No. I have seen that happen in prison, but in the city jail, no. Ain't no outlets in there for us to spark
Drugs
fire.
being smuggled in by staff and contractors, etc.
Let me explain something to you, right? Now, mind you, can't nobody in jail make no money. It's a few people that might work for the kitchen, they get paid or whatever, but 99% of people that's locked up, you can't make no money. You dependent on people to send you money. Like I say, people got family out there, people got kids out there they want to be able to take care of. The only way to make money is from selling drugs. So you can't criticize a person for selling drugs, or, you know, when you spending 23, 24 hours a day in the cell and you can't do nothing else. A lot of times people do that just to escape. And
Did you do that? Were you forced to do that?
no, I mean, I did 10 years in prison, so it was times in my bed when I did that. But when I was just in CJC, nah, I mean, I don't do that no more. But I still see it for what it is. How you gonna address overdoses if you can't address the fact that people locked up in here 24/7 sitting in the cell, and there's no other way to make money except through drugs? Yeah, the staff would want to bring it in. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, the mailroom gonna be involved, but if you're not gonna address giving people opportunity to make some legit money doing some legit work, then what you expect?
Remind me, how long were you in CJC for?
About a month and a half.
Not too long. And how old are you?
I'm 34.
34. And you spent 10 years before that locked up somewhere else.
Yeah.
Andy, do you have any questions? Anything else that you want to share?
Yeah.
Just the box would do there, yeah.
Just a few things.
Just put that behind you.
Alright,
The box, the mic. Yeah.
Now mind you, a lot of people that are locked up in there, they not, you know, the public defenders have 200 people on their caseload. A lot of times they only come see you when they first get on your case, and then right before you're gonna go to trial or something like that. So you have to do your own legal work. Right now, there's not even a law library. People don't even have access to a law library. That's another thing we were talking about. Some of the profits that these private vendors making, that can be used and to put in a law library in the jail so people can learn how to litigate for themselves. So that's an important thing. You know, when I was in there, I told you I asked CEOs for grievance. It takes forever to get a grievance. By the time they do give it to you a week later, they're not gonna turn it in once you do that. So the defense, the detention facility oversight board, the oversight board over the jail, it's not gonna be any different if we try to file a grievance and write it to them. I mean, it's still not gonna get nowhere. Caseworkers don't never come through. So I was in there for, like I said, about a month and a half. I seen the caseworker come through one time. And so, first of all, you gotta fight for her attention. Bang on the door, see, hey, caseworker, please, come on. She finally get there. I'm like, I wanna write a grievance to the oversight board. Can you give me the address? She's like, all right, I got you. And my celly, hey, Case Burke, my dad, he sent a money order up here to put some money in my books, but it's still ain't on my books. Like, what I gotta do? How do I find out about that? She's like, I got you. I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna find out. And walked up, right? Me and my son look at each other like, man, she ain't gonna do shit. Cause you ain't even have a pen and paper in your hand. Like, ain't no way you just memorizing all the concerns of the people and when you just do a little walkthrough to say you did it. And so that's when I say staff is 85% of the problem. They're not doing their job. Most of them, they just don't give a fuck. So that's one thing that gotta be addressed. And then I think it's important to, because what's going on at CJC, like I said, is a reflection of what's going on in jails and prisons across America. It's important to understand the 13th Amendment. And I know it's outside the spirit of the city jail in particular, but the 13th Amendment, they say it abolished slavery. But if you read it, it actually legalized slavery when it comes to if you've been convicted of a crime. So they abolished slavery except for if you've been convicted of a crime. And so after the 13th Amendment, that's when you've seen a boom of the prison industry, because all you did was transfer it, and that was what we known as the Jim Crow era. So after that, they started deputizing the Klan in mass. They started investing in the construction of prisons in mass. Really start funding police departments to a whole new level, and that's when you start to see a new industry. Now you got all these vendors who are making money constructing the prisons, doing maintenance, electrical systems, security systems. They sell it now, as it exists today. They sell the pepper spray, the handcuffs. They sell the commissary. They sell the phone minutes. They charge fees for people putting money on your books. And so now it's a whole new industry that actually funds itself. It invests to perpetuate that system, and we can't underestimate that. So if we talk about the city jail, we got to talk about correct commissary and correct solutions. These are corporations that have contracts with the city jail, and they do a lot of stuff behind the scenes to lobby for policies to keep this going. They're not really trying to do re-entry programs. They're not trying to heal people and educate people. Because if people were educated and employed, they probably wouldn't go back to prison.
Do you see opportunity? Are you hopeful that conditions of the CJC will improve?
Yeah. I mean, that's what we're pushing for. And like I said, I think the new commissioner is receptive to that. And
Thank you. I think you covered everything. What do you do now for work? What's your, you mentioned nonprofit work, or what type of jobs are you doing now?
Well, I was working with I still work with a lot of advocacy groups and nonprofits, but I'm not employed by any of them. I was a criminal justice policy manager for a nonprofit.
Which one?
Empower Missouri. It was briefly. I had already been kind of working with them for a while, but
Why did that end?
I got locked up.
Oh, because of work.
That's when I lost my job.
So what about now? What do you do now?
And I do plumbing construction. Luckily, I know somebody that has a plumbing company that doesn't care about my background, but it's so many jobs that I've applied for, even ones that say they're second chance employers, once they run my background. I jump through all the hoops, do all the orientation, do all the trainings, and then on the end, they say, all right, we're just gonna do your background and it should be smooth. And then they look at your background and like, nah.
So you can't get a job. Well, you have a job, but you can't get, you're doing a lot
Luckily,
of other
I know
jobs.
somebody personally
Yeah.
who has a plumbing company, and they hired me.
It sounds like you're doing a lot of things, right? Plumbing, what other types of work?
I've been done any type of job you can think of. Literally, I've done any type of job you can think of. We got to keep pushing. We got to keep making our ends meet. I wish I could do advocacy full time.
You'd be great at that. And also Empower Missouri. It sounds like you worked there before. Can you reach out again?
Let me tell you something about nonprofits. They're funded by grant money. And a lot of times, no matter how genuine the people who work for these organizations are, when you get this grant money, they're paying for specific things. It might be a specific petition or a specific campaign that they're on. And so they want to make sure you stay on messaging. And I feel like a lot of these nonprofits, they get paid to have meetings and have the same conversations about the same things over and over again, and organize protests and all these different things. Not saying that it ain't genuine people who work for these organizations, but it's kind of like a catch-22, because by the time you get done paying your own salaries and paying for your own office space and having these meetings and doing all this research, how much change are y'all really affecting? And so I do it on the side, after I'm trying to get done paying my own bills, you know, I write bills, you know, I organize people to try to give testimony on bills. I reach out to all the people to try to, you know, sponsor certain bill or, you know, things of that nature. I've done door to door voter registration, getting people to come out and vote, you know, talking to people about what issues going on in their community, what they care about, bring it back to the team, you know, and just educate people about what pending legislation is going to affect our community. But you can only do this so long, you know, especially when you ain't getting paid full time for it.
Yeah, you need one job, right? Like
Yeah.
easier.
You gotta pay the bills. So I would like to do it full time. A lot of other people who I speak for who don't come to the table. It's a lot of people who just like me, who've been through prison just like me, who just don't find themselves at these tables. You're not getting paid to be an organizer, so you gotta, you know, pay your bills and make your ends meet. So I'm speaking for all of them too. And you know, a lot of people working for these nonprofit organizations, I would tell them, make sure you stay true, man. We know the grant money is gonna run the show because everybody getting paid unless we get this grant money. But a lot of times it creates a conflict of interest. Like you see with the Black Lives Matter movement. A lot of people thought that was it was just a slogan. A lot of people didn't know Black Lives Matter was actually an incorporated nonprofit organization who got $100 million. They're not saying they weren't organizing in their own right, but that didn't go back to fixing Ferguson. See what I'm saying? So it's a whole nonprofit industrial complex too.
Yeah.
So it's a tough thing, but
Thank you. I
Glad
think
you
we'd love to
put
get
this
some B-roll of you, maybe with your electric guitar and some of
Let's
your
just
books.
run a little bit on that.
alright, cool. It don't work, but
Well, that's
strings
alright.
missing and stuff. But
That's okay.
You can put that in your pocket.
Yeah, I used to sit on my front porch and play a little bit.
one string at a time. I wasn't hitting no notes and nothing.
Let's go ahead and grab his stage. Maybe sit on the couch over there on this far end.
Oh, hang on a second, stop a second.
Go back over there for me. Gotta do this in steps. Okay, you walk over, sit down.
I'm more active with the boxing gloves than I am with the guitar.
Go ahead and do that too then.
This electric guitar, so it ain't gonna sound right.
That's all right. Get you strumming a little bit on it. Paul, can you maybe move your chair over to the left? We're just moving out of the way.
It's electric guitar, it ain't got the amplifier.
I hear you.
I just picked it up.
That's all right, just keep playing it for me. We worry about the video, not so much the sound.
I'll play one string at a time.
Do it one more time for me.
One more time.
Bet you missed that when you were in prison, huh?
Yeah.
Opportunity to do that. How about one of these books over here that you've been reading? Can I get you just kind of looking through one of those?
Let me see.
You wanna stop recording on your phone over there, or then stop, or? Waste your-
It's cool. Let me see. Oh, this is a good one I recommend right here.
Where do you put your bag when you're boxing? Just leave it like that?
I go to the gym now.
Oh, I
When
got
I was
you.
staying in my last spot, I had it hung up.
Yeah, hung up, yeah.
Yeah. But,
Sit right there. One word. this whole book, this is real good. Michelle Alexander, she really kind of broke down a lot of the nuances of the history of the prison system.
It's
How
there
it
right here.
evolved over time. How long you been doing it, man?
Long time.
Yes, sir.
About as old, about as long as your age.
Yeah. What got you into it?
A few more years of retirement, man.
Yeah.
Just my college degree.
Not everybody who reports good stories like this, though.
That's right.
You know. What is that doing? And I recommend this. Like, gotta give it a little chance, bro.
Different angle here.
This is what I definitely took a lot of when I was in there. Not in the CJC, because they didn't have books for it, but, you know, when I was in prison.
Are you allowed for people to bring you books to read, or
Man,
people make fun of you to read, or?
nah, it's just, you don't really have no access to books for real.
Right. Yeah, they should have a library or something.
Man, maybe the law library at least.